Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. And what I am talking about today is the Flickr group photo of the week from my Flickr group, which I hope you are all a part of. And if you have been paying attention, I have been picking pictures from there to talk about, or basically just post on FroKnowsPhoto.com and just give them some props. But starting right now, I will pick a photo of the week from the Flickr gallery and hopefully get to talk to that person and get to know a little bit more detail about the photo that I picked. So the photo that you're looking at right now is by Adam Lerner. He is a New Yorker. I hope a New Yorker. I mean, he lives in New York. That doesn't mean that he's a New Yorker. I'll ask him in a minute because we're going to talk to him. I loved... this photo just grabbed me. I see the eyes, and I love punchy black and whites, and it is a punchy black and white image. I love contrast, and you should know that by now. And especially when you get the eyes totally locked in, because that's where you should be focusing. There's nothing better in a headshot than that, and just everything pops in this image, and you can't go wrong with that. So I wanted to know more about how this was done, so I set up a call and spoke to Adam, and I actually have him here right now. So, Adam, you want to say hi?
Yeah, hey Jared, how are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. So yeah, I like this photo a lot.
Well, thank you.
And so why don't you give us a little insight into, first off, the setup, and then why you're taking this photo?
A good friend of mine who's a musician got offered an acting gig and needed a headshot because he got offered something pretty substantial and was thrust into this new field, and I immediately offered to do his headshot. I hadn't done a whole lot of headshots prior to this, but I had experimented with some speed lights using the Nikon creative lighting system. You know, I paid attention to the strobist and some Joe McNally stuff to kind of get the basic settings down and, you know, get a sense of, okay, you know, off axis, above the subject's head, 45 degree, maybe a little bit of fill flash behind the head. I took some of those basic principles and I tried to apply it to this shot. What I wanted to do for Bobby was I wanted to get him in really sharp and get those eyes. So I shot with a 51.4, but I actually shot it at f7.1.
Which one for, the AFD or the AFS?
I guess the AFD, is that the older one?
Yeah, the older one.
Older one, yeah.
Older, and some may say better, and I agree.
I love it. It's one of my favorite lenses, go-to lens.
I think he just blinked at me, by the way. Bobby, that is. It was weird. I think he just blinked.
If you leave him up on your screen, those eyes will follow you all around the room.
You know, that is freaky. So you used two SB800s with to make this picture.
Right. I had one on a stand, I guess, to the left of the subject, slightly elevated and pointing down at about a 45-degree angle, and with a diffuser dome. And then I had another SB800 behind the subject, going toward the wall to give some fill behind the wall and to kind of separate him from the background.
Which you did a great job with. And the one criticism that I did have that we talked about was the shadow in the background. Now, you know, there was one of the first times Adam said that he was starting to get used to this creative light system, and that's the CLS, right? That's what they call it, creative light system in Nikon. And
yeah.
Not to rip on Canon or anything, but it is a known fact that the Nikon lighting system is much better. It really is. And Canon has great things to offer, but in terms of portable lighting, these Nikons really kick ass and make shooting enjoyable and fun out there.
Right. I mean, you can go crazy with it, and you can have, 4 different banks with 3 different channels or something like that, and you can have each individual, you can have all them coordinated on different power settings. I mean, you can go really crazy, if you're like a Joe McNally buff. or you can start at a reasonable level with a couple different flashes, and you can either use the TTL, the through the lens system, or you can use the remote mode. And it's basically, there's a little infrared pulse that the commander flash, which in my case on the D700,
Right.
is going to trigger these other speed lights.
For those of you people who don't know, guys like me who have D3Ss or D3s, we can't remotely trigger those flashes unless we have a separate commander unit, or basically we could use a flash as a commander on the camera. But we are SOL when it comes to just shooting them off with the D3S. So don't ask me why it's that way, but if you have a D3000, you're ahead of the game because you have a flash built-in. No, wait, you may not be ahead of the game. You can't control them. But hey, D700, D300S, and I believe the D90 can also control the flashes as well.
Do you know that it actually started with the D70?
Yeah, that commander mode in D70, that was a kick-ass camera.
It's pretty amazing, and I think part of the decision, I had this decision when I was kind of going from like junior level DSLRs to more professional level. I was really tossed between the 5D Canon and the Nikon, and the creative lighting system kind of sealed the deal for me. I mean, there's a few other nuances there, but that really sealed the deal for me.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah, that's what I was telling Adam also, is that I'm looking to get rid of my actual studio strobes to pick up a whole creative lighting system. Hopefully, when Nikon fixes their SB900s, there are major, well, I don't know if they're major, but there are issues, and there are a lot of overheating problems. And my one buddy actually blew a tube. Just out of nowhere, he blew a tube. It wasn't like he was motoring through shots. He blew a tube. So anyway.
Interestingly, just to touch on that, I actually had a very similar situation where I almost lost one of my SB800s. And then I went online and I read, a bunch of, forums and stuff. And essentially it said that using conventional alkaline batteries is bad, and that you really need to be using rechargeables. And the Sony Eneloops, for whatever reason, or Sanyo, seem to be, highly preferred. And I can tell you that this,
I love the lithiums in my flash.
These could be lithium ion. Yeah, these are NIMH.
Those are nickel metal hydride. Those are the rechargeables. A lot of people use them. I don't want to use them on a job because my the lithium batteries last forever.
Well, I can say that from my experience, I don't get any overheating, and they seem to last an incredibly long time.
Okay.
So my experience has been great, and I've seen, like, just coincidentally, some friends of mine that have studios that just have these batteries everywhere. So it seems to be somewhat of a ubiquitous choice, but it changed my life because seriously, I did a shoot, and I really thought that I lost one of my strobes stopped working, and they were overheated, and then as soon as I switched, that went away. But one of the things that you touched on before was the shadow, and the thing that I realized about this particular shot is that had I, been where I'm at now in doing this, I would have known more in programming my strobes, and I would have gotten rid of that shadow. I would have just washed out the background entirely. Yeah,
I don't think it detracts at all. I mean, it's one of those things. It's about the subject. And,
sure.
So I'm gonna put a wrap on it, and let's wrap up this image. And again, for everybody, you can do this on your own. You really can. You can do it with 2 flashes. With just about any system that you have, you can make this creative lighting system work. And it's fun. Nowadays, it's all digital. You're not going to mess up. You do mess up, you start all over again. You keep playing around. Shoot the dog. Shoot the mannequin. Go get a mannequin. I have a mannequin that's always in the pictures. That's a good way to test out shooting people. Put different wigs on them. That's fun. Dress them up if you really want to, if you're into that kind of thing. So that's really it. I really like this picture from Adam. And there you go. So for all of you guys, get those pictures up on the Fro Knows Photo Flickr photo group, and maybe I will pick your photo next. So there you go. Adam, you want to say later?
Thanks a lot, Jared, and keep doing what you're doing.
I will. All right. This is Jared Poland, Fro Knows Photo. Flickr.com. Signing off. Later.